Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, Google, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
and Peter.
Episode 7, recorded on January 23rd, 2019. The Cloud Pod, now 99.9% available. Unless Jonathan messes up the audio upload.
Yes. I have a suspicion as to what happened with that thing. It takes...
I blame the 2 to 3 a.m. editing. I'm starting to realize that Jonathan maybe does a lot of work at that time of day, but not the highest quality work at that time of day.
So the reason my file was totally finished and the uploaded file was not is because Audacity was still exporting the MP3 and I must have got impatient, thought it had finished and it hadn't. And so I started the upload before it had finished writing the file, which is kind of interesting. But the little window disappeared, or maybe it hadn't finished writing it to disk or something. I don't know, but whatever.
What is everyone drinking this evening?
We have to pause. I need to get a drink. I forgot.
No drinks.
I even forgot that.
I'm not partaking today because I decided to get sick yesterday, and adding alcohol to the mix today just sounds awful. So, well, we have a action-packed day of announcements to walk through. So let's get started here. Let's first start out with Google, who announced NVIDIA's Tesla T4 GPUs are now available in beta for all of your machine learning and AI needs. Exclusively available to them, yes. Which is interesting that they have this type of partnership with, is it in NVIDIA's best interest right now with their stock hurting to have an exclusive partnership with Google?
I think Google are the only people who can afford it. Those things are expensive.
That's very true, but if Amazon can't afford it, I have other concerns. Is the T4 really going to be that much of a game changer for machine learning people?
I think it will for people doing vision processing. The target audience for these T4s is real-time image processing. One T4 GPU can transcode, what was it, like around 30 HD streams at a time. It's absolutely stunning performance.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I see here that you can provision different instance sizes, but up to a maximum of 4 T4 GPUs with 96 vCPUs and 624 gigs of host memory. And an optional 3 terabytes of in-server local SSD. That is a monster of a server right there.
As low as 29 cents an hour per GPU. Wow.
It's not cheap either. That's on 29 cents is on preemptible, by the way, which if you remember from last week is spot instances for them. But the normal cost is 95 cents per hour. Not a cheap server in any way.
No, I'm guessing they don't have a lot of these things. The way they said we've distributed these GPUs across the globe in 8 regions, it's kind of like they've got a handful and they've just got a couple in each place. But I guess it is still limited availability. Yeah,
I definitely assume they're going to start, getting more of these in their data centers over the next few months as they come off the line at NVIDIA and try to help their stock out. So that's great. Definitely interesting. Amazon had a big announcement this week around backup and supporting several services on launch day with the backup service. They now support as a backup source, storage gateway, DynamoDB, Elastic File System, EBS, all available to you in a simple UI interface or API to back up to both Glacier storage and to S3 storage. So pretty interesting. I actually enabled this today for my personal account. I went in and removed the pretty shady looking Lambda code that I wrote a couple of years ago to do snapshots and clean up snapshots and moved over to this. And I am a much happier customer now that I have something totally not managed by me.
I think for the DynamoDB backups, this is great because backing up DynamoDB was really clunky before. Everyone's used Lambdas to back up EBS volumes, and this will simplify that. I was very disappointed that it doesn't support cross-region out of the box. I mean, who doesn't want DR for their backups? And now we're backing the stuff up in the same region. That seems like a bit of a miss, but I should be used to it by now.
I assume it'll be a feature they announce in 6 months from now, and we'll have a lightning round like, it's about time. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this just getting some sort of real productized offering up saying, yes, it's important. We want to be able to back up without hacking together our own scripts and scraping tags and pruning based on tags. I mean, I've seen so many things go wrong, unintended consequences with those, that I think this is huge. And it's kind of one of those things where Amazon's this whole time has been sort of, you don't really need to back up because all of our services are so highly available. But we make mistakes too. We accidentally delete data and overwrite data all the time.
It definitely makes proving your compliance with SOC easier if you can just say, hey, look, we have this service enabled for everything, versus, hey, look at all my Lambda functions and look at this data service I have to spin up every 24 hours to back up DynamoDB and that kind of thing. But
yeah, and then who's monitoring to make sure it's still running and that it succeeded. etc.
Oh, yeah. My other thoughts about this was that although they're storing the data in S3, it's not exposed to us as clients. We don't tell them which bucket to use. We can't get access to these raw objects. So it's nothing that we can use to migrate away from AWS if we wanted to. We can't copy machine images out or any kind of RDS backups out of Amazon using this tool. Native only.
One of the features I was kind of wishing for was the ability to back up to a different account, which is a kind of common use case that you see sometimes. That'd be a nice one. And then if it was integrated in S3, it would solve your cross-region problem because you just turn on, cross-region replication of the bucket. But it definitely has some limitations there. I was impressed at the flexibility they gave you on being able to choose resources you wanted to back up. So you could either do it by a tag, and then that tag, basically whatever tag equals true, that could then be in the backup set, or you could actually do it based on a specific resource ID if you want to do that. So it gave you a couple of different options there. There are a couple of things I'd like to see as well, where I don't necessarily want to have to specify several different backup job types based on my backup frequencies. I like to be able to set up just this backup watcher, and then based on a tag, be able to back up, every 15 minutes or every hour, every 2 hour. But for a day one launch service for Amazon and the number of services they're covering that are really the ones I care about backing up, it's a pretty good list. RDS is a little bit missing right now, but hopefully that'll come soon. And I'm definitely glad to see this becoming a service. And I'm really excited about a lot of these services like Security Hub and now this service, where they're taking a lot of primitives and they're just rolling them up into a single application that makes it easy to just deal with. It's super nice.
Speaking of AWS, when I think of cloud, I think of Foghorn Consulting. Foghorn has been around since 2008. They've been on the forefront of cloud enablement and have delivered powerful transformations for hundreds of clients, from startups to Fortune 500, including highly regulated industries. They were early visionaries and practitioners of using code to automate infrastructure and operations to drive up cloud efficiencies while driving down costs. Terraform, Ansible, Jenkins, AWS, Azure, and GCP. Go to fogops.io/thecloudpod to learn more about their FogOps services and sign up for a free, well-architected framework review.
Well, let's move on to Oracle World Europe, where they did a couple of announcements and had some things to say. Oracle launched their new Toronto region to compete with Amazon, and they also announced plans for a new India region in Mumbai. Definitely Oracle's trying to make inroads. They're trying to copy Amazon and Azure, who they see as their big competitors. It's good to see them building out more data centers, but I still don't know who uses them.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen anybody asking for it, and so I have the same question.
I think Oracle have a lot of pro services people in India, and so putting the data center there is probably makes sense for them.
Well, it's interesting because they mentioned in the announcement for India that they also, not only are they going to do IaaS services there, they're also going to offer the Oracle SaaS applications like Oracle Financials and Oracle HRM products. So that was interesting to me because while there are several large companies in India that are based there and have business there, I don't know how big that market is for them.
Well, I guess with more and more outsourced workers, having local access to SaaS applications is great, because we all know how terrible the latency is between India and the US, and hosting applications here for your outsourced team to use is fairly painful.
Yeah, that's very true. And definitely, you do, if you're a big mega corporation that has India operations, maybe you want to use the same technology stack across the globe, and you have to have those books separated. Maybe that makes sense. So good. All right. Well, the other thing Oracle came out with last week that we thought we should talk about is Oracle executive came out and basically said open source vendors locking down licenses proves that they were never really open, which is Oracle's way of saying, see, we're not so bad. They're just as bad as we are.
Hey, didn't they just change the JVM license or the JDK license even, so that people couldn't use it in production without paying extra?
Yeah, I would say they're still worse.
I'd say so. Yeah, just because everyone else is evil doesn't mean you're not.
Well, and I don't know that I necessarily consider what Mongo and Elastic and these guys have done as to be the same level of evil. They're just saying, look, we don't want the hyperscalers to take our technology and be competing with us and not giving us a piece of that action or committing back code to us. And or Oracle's taking JVM and saying, hey, remember this thing that was been free forever? Now you have to pay me lots of money for it. That's a whole different animal, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I guess it's different when they've acquired these things and then change the game on people. Like MySQL.
Yeah, and not to mention, how about all of their actual applications and database source code. I mean, we're not even allowed to see it. Forget about the licensing. Licensing is separate, right, from whether or not you're allowed to see and modify the source code.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of the pot calling kettle black kind of thing. But the accusation at the end that Amazon never contributed a line of code back to these projects is way off in left field. There's a whole list of open source projects that Amazon have contributed back to, like Lucene, Redis. In fact, I think Amazon wrote the encryption in transit piece of Redis and contributed that back to the community. There's absolute boatload of stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there's for as many examples as people can show where Amazon didn't commit back. There's another 100 examples where they did commit a lot of really great code. And I mean, a lot of the stuff they're doing around security and containers is all open source. Well, moving on to another Amazon announcement, they announced another event. And so I pity all the marketing people at Amazon who are in charge of these events, because now on June 5th and 6th, they are launching an event called Remars, which is an AI event for machine learning. Apparently, this is a follow-up to an event that they did last year that was invite only. I was not invited, so I don't know anything about it. But they are going to be opening things up to the public at the beginning of June. And then, of course, on June 25th, 26th, I believe, is the Reinforce event in Boston. So those marketing people are going to be running across the country for these events that they're doing.
This is good because I think this is going to break up the reInvent huge crowd into lots of smaller conferences. And they've already started this with the Boston Security Conference. And now they're moving AI to the Remars show. It's going to be good, I think, as an outcome for reInvent.
But But does this mean they're actually not going to have security sessions at reInvent, and they're not going to have AI sessions at reInvent, or is this just additive?
They want reInvent to be a sales conference for new customers or newer customers. And we talked about at the reInvent recap show that it's starting to become a conference that doesn't really apply to the three of us because we've been doing Amazon for so long. And so if they can give us a much more technically deep mini conference that covers the specific topic I care about, and I can do that for a fraction of the price and I get more value out of it, then that's a win for the customer. It's a win for Amazon. So I think this is maybe part of that strategy is, look, we'll give you these very specialized, highly technical conferences that you can go to if you're interested in the topic. And if you're just really getting started or you're just more interested in the general news, you go to reInvent.
Yeah, I definitely like it. And we're going to be heading to Reinforce for sure.
Yeah, I definitely plan to go to Reinforce. So
apparently astronauts can attend for free.
Well, I wonder what the reason for that is. We just want the credibility of saying an astronaut's at our conference.
I assume it plays into the whole Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the big things about the Mars conferences was a lot of talk about space and traveling to space and some of the Blue Origin stuff. But you can sign up for more information on the website for it.
It's in Vegas again, I assume.
This one is in Vegas, yes. It's at the Aria, I believe, I read. That's a nice facility, but it's not the biggest, so I assume it's going to be capped at a certain amount of people. All right, and our final new news, Amazon Trusted Advisor announces 9 new best practices, which include a DynamoDB read and write capacity check to make sure that your usage is more than 80% of the provisioned throughput limit, Route 53 hosted zones, health checks, reusable delegation, traffic policies, and traffic policy instances. And this is all about making sure that those things that cost you extra money in Route 53 are being used properly and utilized. And then an ENA driver version for EC2 Windows instances validation check, and an NVMe driver version for EC2 Windows version check as well, which these are proprietary drivers that are needed for both the ENA and the NVMe. And so if you're not using the latest version, you might be running into issues. Knowing that your Windows boxes have the latest drivers is a pretty nice benefit.
And you know how Amazon is so good at driving their product development off of customer requests. All I could think about is the poor guy who got burned by each one of these before it was in Trusted Advisor.
Yeah, I mean, these are 9 good checks, but I wish Trusted Advisor was doing a lot more than it is. And I also feel like the barrier that it's something you only get with support contracts is really a bummer, because there's a lot of really great data in here and really beneficial things, but you don't get access to unless you're on a support contract beyond the basic stuff. So it's good to see these. I'd like to see more checks coming out, and I could probably give them a list of maybe 10 things that I would like to see. And just being able to get actually all the resource limits in one dashboard would be super helpful, because there's still not all of those being covered by Trusted Advisor.
I don't really understand why some of these things aren't just why Amazon don't push people to deploy these kind of checks as CloudWatch health checks, that kind of thing, especially read capacity and write capacity, stuff like that. It seems like being aware of that these things exist at the time of making your deployments would be a better outcome for everybody, instead of hiding it away in this horrible trusted advisor dashboard. I mean, that the whole service is just horrendous to use, the way it collapses and unfolds different sections. You can't find anything that you're trying to find. It does have an API, but it's not great. I don't know.
Is there a UI that you like in the console? Because there's probably like 6 or 7 different trial UI ideas they have now in the console, and I have yet to find one that I thought was like, this is a really great idea, and I wish you would do these for all of them.
Yeah, they had their sort of classic UI for years, and then they started rolling out changes. I think like VPC was one of the first ones to get a new kind of sheen to it. But yeah, every team, I thought they were going to converge into a similar theme, but no, they don't. And I think the latest round of changes they've made to the console really suck for people with small screens, small laptops, because you can only fit a few lines on your screen, and the rest is all taken up by menus and things like this. So I don't know. I'm not a great user of the console anyway, but I mean, Trusted Advisor is not something that you can browse through an API. You need to glance through it and look for things that are in red, or it needs to be a better user experience, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think it could have a better user experience, as well as the ability to, send off alerts as they changed dynamically to a Lambda function, so then I can fire off Jira tickets would be beneficial. There's all kinds of different things they could be doing to make that service more robust and more interesting. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on the UI stuff. I always like the classic console, but I've seen some of the things like the S3 console, and I'm like, please don't do this to the rest of Amazon, because I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah, there's some things from Trusted Advisor which I think it's still missing for sure. Sometimes we get abuse alerts for emails going to addresses that don't exist, or the suspected DOS attacks from instances that are doing things, and none of that is actually visible in Trusted Advisor. And it would seem that would be the go-to place for that kind of status information, but that's all kind of out of band, done through emails to the abuse team and everything else. So I think it's a good idea. I think it needs some work.
I think all of the services where you'll find a little bit of a weakness in the model, right? Amazon's highly distributed development model start to show with services that have to interact heavily with other services like console, right? You got to put that in front of every single service, which means either one team working with every single other team to give you a consistent UI, or every team sort of doing their own things and trying to follow a style guide. Trusted advisors across all services, billing is across all services, and it seems like those are the ones that pay the price for the rapid or the strengths that Amazon has as far as rapid development with the highly distributed development teams.
If CloudTrail should be across all services as well, and there are some notable gaps in that. I think once they've built the pipeline that takes the data into CloudTrail, they could easily use a similar pipeline to handle event-driven stuff like this.
Well, moving right along to our fearless leader of the lightning round, Peter.
Awesome. Here we go. All right. I'm going to do my best to keep score in my brain, but when that fails, I'm probably going to declare a winner randomly. So we'll see how this goes.
I listening back to last week, and I heard you gave the lightning round to yourself, which put us at a 3-way tie. But listening to the lightning round, first of all, you called me Jonathan at one point, and then like I actually didn't hear anything that I thought was like really relevant enough to give you the award. So I'm questioning the voting system for this. Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm thinking of putting it out there. I'm bringing in the WBO to be the scorers, because they've always been. Boxing has been notorious, obviously.
Well, as long as we're not getting, ice skating judges from the Olympics.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So let's start this off. All right. We have Amazon announced a host of service level agreements covering Kinesis data streams, Kinesis data Firehose, EKS, ECR, Secrets Manager, and Amazon MQ.
So, there's been a large number of SLAs being announced by products, and the only thing I could think of that would require you to have all of these SLAs on all these products would potentially be a very large government contract that requires it.
Oh boy, the snore had it.
And but yeah, like considering if you looked at the rate of service of GAs that occurred prior to this month, I would say it was like 2 a year. And we've had like 8 already this year. So it definitely makes me think that there's more to this story than just yay, we finally got to the point we want to have an SLA. Like, no, we have a reason. It's a $10 billion reason.
It's in the requirements. It's in the RFI.
Yeah, more so than customer driven. They are definitely money driven.
Indeed.
All right. Next, AWS CodePipeline now supports deployment to S3.
This is a classic. I had no idea this wasn't supported.
I like this. This is going to solve some problems.
All right. Alexa for Business now offers IT admins simplified workflows to set up multiple devices.
So I have 3 at home that it took me a good 45 minutes to set up properly. So I couldn't imagine being a hotel owner and trying to set up, 600 rooms worth of these. So I'm sure an IT person is very happy somewhere about this announcement.
Yeah, now we expect to see Alexas in every hotel room in Vegas in the next couple of years.
Alexa, set up my Alexas. All right. We have multiple CloudTrail integrations announced. Comprehend is now integrated, as well as AWS Cloud9.
So what exactly is being audited in CloudTrail for Cloud9? Like, do I really need you to tell CloudTrail that Justin wrote really bad code and they committed it to a repo that went to a Lambda function that failed? Like, I mean, I have enough embarrassment on my own without having this in CloudTrail logs for someone in the SIM team to audit.
Maybe the HR team is auditing it.
I hope not, because my commits have a lot of swear words. Again, CloudTrail announcements. Why is this not an MVP feature? Like, when these products come out, they don't have CloudTrail integration. You're just like, well, why not? Like, this seems pretty obvious that this should be there.
Yeah, they must be tracking these things on an API call by call basis, simply for things like rate limiting. So the logic is there. They're just choosing not to.
Well, Cloud9 was an acquisition, right?
Yeah, it was.
Was Comprehend an acquisition though? I don't think so.
What about S3 logs in CloudTrail? Nope.
No.
No, they have a separate log type. Why? Because you want to log those separately, Jonathan.
What about Route 53 logs in CloudTrail? Hey, somebody deleted all my records. Let's check CloudTrail. Oh, nope.
Nope, not there. All right. Yeah, again, MVP feature. Would like to have this for every service that comes out. Can we get that, please, Amazon?
All right, next. Rekognition video now supports object bounding boxes and more accurate object and scene detection.
I guess this replaces the Eastern European team.
Oh,
yeah, the Ring team. Yeah. Guess they don't need them anymore. I mean, wasn't the level of object detection on Rekognition was pretty high before, but now we can bound the box around the object detection.
Next, AWS Migration Hub now imports on-premise data sources like CMDB, IT Asset Management, and AWS Migration Partner Discovery Tool.
So you can see all of the lack of progress you're making in your Amazon migration daily against the asset log. Great.
Well, if they can't charge you for the resources you're not migrating yet, they can charge you for Migration Hub.
I could just picture it. I can't believe that box is still running. That's going to be what everybody says when they look at that thing.
But Jeff left 3 years ago. What's it been doing since then?
Jeff's test. Yeah.
Someone told me all those Windows 2003 boxes were killed. What do you mean they're still there?
All right. Azure Monitor Logs in Grafana now in public preview.
Azure, the only people who can get really excited about a plugin to send data to Grafana.
I think it's because they announced it as a collaboration. We didn't just steal Grafana and give it away for free. It's a collaboration. This is totally a PR move.
Ooh. Also, I mean, they're just doing so much. It's almost like they're going out of their way to be involved with other open source projects. Amazon Redshift now auto-analyzes your data in the background to improve query performance.
So you didn't say it right, because in the announcement they have analyze in all capitals, so it's analyze automatically.
Louder?
Wasn't it was the time series data analysis tool, the forecasting tool that Amazon announced around reInvent time. I wonder if they're using that to do this kind of work in the background. I guess it's all just optimizing their own costs, really. So it's what's good for them is good for us in the end. I
mean, it's nice that, because this would be what I could see happening with an executive. Like, they go run some report out of the Redshift database, and they're like, the data's not right, and you're like, oh crap, the analyze Lambda function I was running every night failed for some reason. I mean, it definitely seems like something I want my database to do automatically for me. So I'm glad this is there, but maybe this is the reason why the company that originally made Redshift went out of business.
Right.
This wasn't a feature day one.
Last for the day, Amazon EKS achieves ISO and PCI compliance.
So someone, I think it was Peter, pointed out earlier that EKS is already HIPAA compliant. So I'm a little confused how it wasn't ISO compliant before it became HIPAA compliant. But great, I guess.
PCI, it's weird. I don't know. It's like if all the primitive services are already PCI compliant, then what is there about EKS that meant it wasn't
It
PCI
doesn't matter.
compliant?
All that matters is we can now run our ATMs on EKS.
Excellent.
Run all your credit card transactions through EKS. Peter, what do you think? Who's the winner on this one? Did your analytics work out for you?
All right, I did. I have analytics. Hold on, let me do an ETL quick. Let me do a. I think although I think Justin had the most interesting comments, I'm a big one on firsts. And so I have to give it to our podcast's first recorded snore.
Congratulations. You're Jonathan.
Excellent. That's great. 2 to 1 to 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to keep this track of this right now at 2
Something
1
to
1,
shoot for. Something to shoot for.
We're going to have
Justin.
to probably start tracking this in the notes because I'm going to forget at some point.
I mean, now I'm in the lead. I feel like we should have some kind of prize on a weekly basis, or a trophy that we pass around. Or
didn't we already establish that it's some type of liquor from Peter?
I think it should be. Yeah. I did try and buy a Templeton Rye on Peter's recommendation when I was in Reno over the weekend, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, we don't have stuff like that here.
Well, you were in Reno.
Yeah.
For you, the listeners of the CloudPod podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook downloaded with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/thecloudpod. Again, that's audibletrial.com/thecloudpod for your free audiobook. Let's move on to Cool Tools by Jonathan. Every week.
Like, it's fine. I have to edit it. Quit your bitching.
No, it's fine. I left in a bunch of mistakes last week, which turned out to be pretty funny in the end. Made the whole conversation sound a lot more interesting. Okay, this week's cool tools in no particular order. First off, from AWS Labs, we have the AWS Lambda Container Image Converter, which will take your local Docker images, break them into separate layers, and upload those layers independently to Lambda so that you can easily move your container-based workflows into event-driven stack. So, Peter, going back to your prediction last year, this is containers moving back to serverless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and last week we talked about the Lambda functions going to containers. So it's anyone's race at this point between is it containers or is it Lambda that's going to win this out? I mean, this is a pretty cool little idea to be able to take containers images and basically do a conversion. It makes sense that you could do this because if you look at the code for Lambda layers, it's very straightforward. Very similar to Docker syntax, might even be Docker syntax. The only thing you can't do is you can't do removes, so you can't remove the Amazon Lambda runtime components they want. So it makes sense that this would be a pretty simple tool to basically be able to do this conversion, which is pretty awesome. So this also came from Amazon Labs, so it's not something going to be kind of abandoned. And I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I mean, right now it only copies the opt directory from each layer, which is where you should be keeping your own code anyway, but it looks exciting. And the bootstrap you need to make your container-based app run in Lambda is tiny. Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this because I think so. This is the way to go, and I don't think Fargate, although they lowered the costs, I don't think Fargate is going to be something that many people use when they have very, very, very fast Lambda to learn instead.
Right. Yeah. Merging, right? All these services kind of merge to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between an event-driven thing that spins up and runs when you need it and not an event-driven thing which sits there waiting, but you can spin it up so fast, it may as well not have been there before you needed it anyway. So, yeah, definitely a convergence of tools. May even get so fast that Fargate doesn't even have to perpetuate anything in memory.
All right. You have any other cool tools this week?
No.
Sounds great. All right.
Nope. We're all just staring at it. We're all clicking on it. Nope.
No, I want to read some more about this and do a better job of it next week.
One is more than enough. And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Foghorn Consulting and Audible.com. Subscribe today on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod.